So this is Private Eye fortnightly issue number 1533, dated on the Friday, the 23rd of October, 2020. So it runs from 23rd of October until the 5th of November, 2020. And they're featuring a glum-looking, very glum-looking Boris Johnson with the thing they're saying that the bummer time continues, and will people put the clock back to March, which is a clear kind of reference to Boris Johnson in March 2020. And the other bit says the 3 tiers for Boris. 3 cheers is the one that they're taking the kind of pun on, TIERS. And they're running this one: Brexit, Britain to leave UK. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's the kind of inside the current issue, that there is the new issue, which becomes official 2 days from now. That is, today is Wednesday, and it's dated Friday, the 23rd of April. And this is Wednesday, the 21st of April, 2020. Now tomorrow, 22nd of October, 2020, this is the one that is dated the 23rd of October, 2020 until the 5th of November, 2020. And for the Kudilar campaign, tomorrow, the 22nd of October 2020, will be the 16th anniversary of the first street action that we held in the Greater X Street, London E1, which is not far from Brick Lane. As part of our action, which we announced against the corrupt clique in place at the time in Tower Hamlets Council. And the reason we focused our first action against the corrupt clique in place at the time in Tower Hamlets Council was because of the council's collusion with the attack contained in the cross-rail fronted big business agenda that was intended to destroy the Eastern community, and especially by destroying and breaking up the community in and around Brick Lane, immediately, Brick Lane, London E1. The fragmentation of Brick Lane and the community in the East End of London had been attempted before many times. In fact, the attack on the East End of London, which starts from the what is now the Tower Hill underground station and the Tower of London, so to the east of the City of London, or the greater metropolitan area of London, starting from and including the Tower of London, and going all the way to South End. The treatment of the East End of London, or the East London areas, the treatment has remained consistently hostile and prejudiced and contemptuous. The treatment that is similar similar to the treatment that the Greater Manchester area is in the news about. That's Andy Barnum, the bigger picture. And the one behind Andy Barnum is that of a flustered Boris Johnson, who is completely, he lost the meaning, the sense, cognitive skills. I mean, he may still be able to speak a few words of Latin, lying and faking. But the point is that the man has never had any substance about him. And Johnson is described as the Bama by the private eye of Friday the 23rd of October 2020. And the Bama, as the internet definitions kind of tell us, the Bama is, let's see what the Bama is described as in the so the Bama is, well, it's one dictionary definition. There are about 37,100,000 results produced by the Google system at 0.46 seconds. So the Bama is a noun, informal. First one, a disappointing or unpleasant situation or experience. The party was a real Bama. That is one meaning, one definition. And number two is North American, a loafer or vagrant. Now, Boris Johnson is most accurately described as a loafer and a vagrant. Vagrant being applied to him as a linguistic update, ethically updated by us, because the contempt for the people forced into poverty and lack of shelter and lack of housing, human rights, were wrongly kind of pejoratively referred to as vagrants. People on the street and people without their homes. But the time has come, more than kind of overdue, to describe the causes of the vagrancy and the deprivation and the poverty. And the causes now personified in the Boris Johnson, who embodies the vagrants, the causers, the liars, and the good-for-nothing tossers that are in place. And we shall be talking about the kind of unreasonableness of the stupidity of the conservatives who allow this idiot to still front their so-called government. And as we have said, I mean, the diagnosis that we have made evidentially and factually since the 12th of December 2019 about how Jeremy Corbyn handed this tosser the opportunity and the claim to be in post as the Prime Minister at number 10 Downing Street. So we won't repeat those because we have already extensively discussed this, but we shall update accordingly. And this is an updater part of the commentary. So the North American one that says that loafer is a bummer is a loafer and a vagrant. There are other meanings as well and definitions. Is bummer a slang word? It says, people who ask. And the answer is the definition of a bummer is slang for something undesirable, unpleasant, or annoying, or is slang for a bad reaction to a drug, or is a lazy person who hangs around all day without a job or purpose. A lazy person who hangs around all day without a job or purpose. Now that is Boris Johnson, without a doubt. And there is a question, what is another word for a bummer? And that is answered. What is another word for a bummer? It's a synonyms. And the synonyms include we should leave their synonym because they have got a kind of too much idiotic rubbish about cookies. Why do they want to collect so much information about people visiting their stupid site? And so there are all kinds of words in there on the internet about Bama. It's about a person, dreadful, poor, cheap, abysmal. Now, abysmal is the word that we had to use on the basis of the evidence of the performance of the then kind of leader, so-called in post, in Tower Hamlets Council at the expense of the community and in the name of the Labour Party. And the performance was called abysmal. So we called abysmal in 2004, about the time when we organized and held the first street demonstration in Greater Haque Street against the corrupt clique in place at the Tower Hamlets Council. And the reason why we held that demonstration at that spot, roughly opposite the micro business center of Greater Haque Street, was because in the building at the corner of the old Montague Street and Greater Haque Street, there used to be a surgery held by the local court councillors on a Friday or Fridays, whatever the frequency or the interval. So that Friday, the 22nd of October 2004, was one of those Fridays when the local councillor or councillors were scheduled to hold their surgery. Now we have lots and lots and lots of factual, unique, world-exclusive evidential things to say about the complete brazen, open stupidity, ignorance, unfitness, and lying and dishonesty and corruption entailed in this surgery, councillor surgery, that is staged only for an hour or 2 hours every 1 or 2 weeks. This is a corruption that matches. This is a corruption that matches any corruption that the conservative fronted cabals, either in the name of the UK central kind of government or locally in local councils fronted and controlled by the conservatives. The dysfunction, the complete disappearance of democracy from this country is what we are looking at. And our diagnosis, which we didn't broadcast in the last 3 days, Sunday, after Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we didn't do any on Sunday really. And Monday, Sunday the 18th, and Monday the 19th, and Tuesday the 20th. And we are doing the first one on the 4th day today, which is the 21st of October. Now, we held that demonstration against the local councillors, supposedly representing what was then called the Spitalfields and Banglatown Council ward in the London Borough of Tower Hamlets Council. And the reason why we focused on those councillors for that ward was because the ward contained the main target area targeted by the big business agenda fronted by the Crossrail project. And the two councillors at the time in place, officially in place, that is installed, not present at that address where outside of which, or opposite which, we are holding the demonstration on the 22nd of October 2020. But they were getting their money, allowances, etc., and they were in place in the name of the Spitalfields and Bangla Town ward. The two councillors were Abbasuddin Elias Helal, also known as Helal Abbas, and the other one, Luthur Rahman. Luthur Rahman, remember that was 22nd of October 2004. It was a good, absolutely, exactly 6 months, 6 years. This is a correction, 6 years, not 6 months. 6 years, 6 full years before there was this corrupt mayor post was voted on, and Luthur Rahman became the elected mayor within quotation marks. Remember, in this program, world exclusive diagnosis of Fleet Street is tagged on Fleet Street, but it's actually about everything to do with the political system kind of disintegrating, democracy disintegrating, corruption predominant, and the Labour Party almost absolutely done, no opposition. So this is 6 years before the corrupt election to the corrupt post of the elected mayor at the expense of Tower Hamlets was held in October 2010. We held the demonstration 6 years before that against Luthur Rahman and against Abbas Uddin Elias Halal, not because of their names, nor because of their kind of background or whatever, but because of their behavior. Those two colluded. They colluded with the Crossrail whole scam attack on the east end of London, and particularly starting on the Brick Lane, London E1 area. As we have said, but anyone viewing this for the first time or coming across the Khudilar campaign being aired in association with our campaign platforms, there are two other campaign platforms that are broadcasting this live as at this time. And our disclaimer includes that we don't recruit friends and we don't follow friends, which means that we are intentionally leaving out thousands and thousands of viewers that would have actually joined and viewed this. And the reason for this intentional policy is self-evident in our contents, but we shall be updating and elaborating on these in due course and not in the too distant future. We shall be doing that during this week. And before we move on to the greater detail of the demonstration we held against Tower Hamlets Council's leadership on the 22nd of October 2004, was to show them, the leaders so-called of the corrupt council. And remember, anyone watching this must be very attentive to the facts, because this is a program that brings exclusive evidential narrative, factual. It's not based on any party politics, either in the UK or anywhere else. And our only ideology is the principle to uphold universal values, universal criteria, evidential, factual, ethical, moral, transparent. And the sole aim is to inform absolutely, robustly, rigorously, without any need for any double checking of the facts that we broadcast. But viewers, of course, are entitled to double check or triple check anything we say or broadcast. But we are absolutely confident that This is what we bring uniquely to the internet. And we are going to expand, and we are going to update, and we are going to kind of contextually analyze a lot of information that we have posted and published since the Kudilar campaign was started in December 2003. But the Kudilar campaign, before the Kudilar campaign was started, we had been campaigning on other issues and with other platforms. And that dates back to the 13th of June, 1963. So that is the length of the kind of activities, campaigning activities that we have been kind of organizing the defense of the community over. That is length over that length. And the universal values, many of which were not in vogue, not in use in 1963 or even in the 70s. Many of the phrases and the definitions and the tags and the words and the kind of labels and the descriptions and the statements and the kind of evidential narratives that we have introduced over the last, coming to just 57 years. We created words like alphabet, which has been stolen by Google. And we shall detail that in due course. Alphabet was the name of our action email address that we created long before Google ever used alphabet. But now they have become alphabet. And there is a big legal case against Google for stealing the name that we created in that context. So we have created words and phrases and action-based, evidence-based. For example, Kudilar. Kudilar is a Siloti language word. SEELOTTEE. Siloti language word, which has got three immediate meanings. One is that the enemy party or the wrong party is trying to dig where they should not be digging. Digging in our territory, in our neighborhood, in our area, in our zone. So that's Kudilar. And Kudilar means that they're doing it despite the fact that there remains all against that kind of activity, opposition, active opposition. Kudilar. Lar means as a continuation and getting away with it. So the lar in the Siloti language is a meaning somebody is doing something negative, unacceptable, unwanted, undesirable against opposition from the legitimate person or persons. So Kudilar, they are digging despite the opposition. That is the Siloti language and brief Siloti linguistic kind of explanation. And I am a linguist, and I have been a linguist, an active linguist, long before it was known that there was a linguist called Noam Chomsky, whose platform is, of course, given wider kind of space because of the racist sphere in which he operates and he benefits from. But the Kudilar word has got the one meaning I have explained, and the other is that they are doing it in the way that we will be destroyed by Kudilar. And the Kudilar is a word to mobilize the community, people affected by the action. And all of these, the word Kudilar in Siloti became an instant hit, and it remains the single most effective campaign action word anywhere in the world in terms of the communities. So you say this word in a Siloti area, Siloti speaking area, and they would know exactly what you are referring to. At least they may not know the locality unless you say that there is a Khudilar campaign defending the community in East London. If you don't say those words, defending the community in the east end of London or Brick Lane, Khudilar itself would mean enough to awaken people, alert people. Now, both Abbas Uddin Helal, alias Helal, and Lutfur Rahman understand Siloti language. They grew up speaking Siloti language, and they understood exactly what the Khudilar word meant. And that means and has been meaning. But those two remained totally, intentionally kind of silent. And they didn't acknowledge the word, and they didn't acknowledge the meaning and the impact. So 3 years after we started the campaign in December 2003. And on 22nd of January, on a Sunday, 22nd of January 2006, that is 4, 5, 6th calendar year, the third calendar year. Well, fourth calendar year since we started, there was a meeting not far from the Micro Business Center, Greater X Street, and the building next to the Micro Business Center where the surgery was supposed to be taking place of the councillors. Now, on that day, 22nd of October 2004, both councillors stayed away from that location. And why? Because both local, quote, newspapers at the time, circulation still going quite normal circulation, at least enough numbers of the copies of the two local titles were around. One was the East London Idiotizer, and the other is the Docklands Recorder. The Docklands Recorder is the one that launched the front page on the Wednesday, 2 days before the scheduled demonstration. And it ran a historic 3-word splash: anger of a community. Or 4-word, is it? Yeah, anger of a community or anger of the community. We shall look at that in a minute. So the anger of the community was run based on the preparation for the demonstration that we had already announced. And we were given that coverage by the then Docklands Recorder, which did its relevant research and fact-checking and established that our campaign was very strongly supported by ordinary members of the community who knew about it. Yeah. So let's see what it says. And that is what one of the things that we have been running. We have been running on our Khudilar Twitter account and also on the other platforms on the internet. Let's see if we can find the image of that front page. And the image obviously is on our So the Kudilar campaign came to be the most prominent action campaign, as was kind of printed on the front page of the Tower Hamlets Recorder. And that actually encapsulated, summed up in 4 words: anger of a community. The feelings that we felt and we aimed to create by that campaign. And we were absolutely successful. And we have been proven to this day, vindicated as being actually accurate in our predictions, in our analysis, and in our focusing on the Tower